RAPID And if you don't know what that spells, you certainly aren't going to remember the number. 877-310-2100. That's the number to call. But before we get into that, I know that there was a lot of consternation over the pulling of the ACHA Act. But a lot of people, especially the news media, seems to have forgotten an executive order that was issued by President Trump not long after his inauguration. And it's interesting, we went back and pulled it. And you can find it. I'm not going to read it in its entirety. You can find it at whitehouse.gov. Whitehouse.gov. And it's entitled, Minimizing the Economic Burden of the Patient Protection and Affordability Care Act, Pending Repeal. In other words, minimizing the economic burden of Obamacare, pending repeal. Let me read Section 2. I think most people can understand what this means, and then I'll tell you what the challenge is going to be. Section 2 of this executive order reads, to the maximum extent permitted by law, the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the heads of all other executive departments and agencies with authorities and responsibilities under the Act shall exercise all authority and discretion available to them to waive, defer, grant exemptions from, or delay the implementation of any provision or requirement of the Act that would impose a fiscal burden on any state or a cost, fee, tax, penalty, or regulatory burden on individuals, families, healthcare providers, health insurers, patients, recipients of healthcare services, purchasers of health insurance, or makers of medical devices, products, or medications. We had a caller to call yesterday who said he had a dilemma. He couldn't afford to buy health insurance, and he couldn't afford to pay the penalty. That sounds like a burden to me. And I couldn't tell him what to do. But according to this, if they do try to impose a penalty on him, I would simply put it in writing as to why it is a burden and see what happens. Now, I can tell you what the challenge is going to be with implementing this section without the passage of the ACHA. That's why they wanted to pass the ACHA first. It was going to strengthen this section. But nobody talked about that. Nobody talked about that. Because even though the president has issued this executive order, you have thousands of bureaucrats up there who may try to ignore it if you don't know about it. So I encourage you that if you're in one of these catch-22s and you're between a rock and a hard place, pull up that executive order that you can find at whitehouse.gov, minimizing the economic burden of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. That's the Obamacare Act. And take a look at Section 2. And if you run into a bureaucrat that wants to impose a burden on you, well, guess what? You've got something to say, well, I'm sorry, I'm between a rock and a hard place, and I can't do it. 877-310-2100. This is Rapid Fire.
How many callers? How much information can Herman squeeze into the next 20 minutes? Watch him go, Kimosabi. This is Rapid Fire, every day with Herman Cain.
Hello, Gordon. You've got a minute on Rapid Fire.
Hey, Herman, I think I got a simple solution to the healthcare problem.
All right.
I know you like simple solutions.
Yes, I do.
So we got all these people. We got millions and millions of people who can't afford health care. What we do is give them the Veterans Administration hospitals. Take the vets and put them in regular hospitals. If the government, we've already got a government hospital.
Yeah.
It's called VA. let the people that can't afford to pay for a hospital, give them the VA and see if they like that.
I think that's a very interesting idea. But first, we need to fix the VA, as you know, and I'm hoping that the new person that's heading up is going to make some inroads. The other thing that you can do for those that cannot afford legitimately to buy health care, you not only have giving them access to the VA, but you also have the possibility of some go on Medicaid, but you also have the ability to maybe under certain conditions, I don't know, I haven't defined what those conditions are, you got Medicare. So we already have at least 3 programs out there. We don't need a new one, is what you're saying. We don't need a new program. Exactly. We just need some new rules as to how you qualify for one of those government programs. But here is the thing that a lot of people are forgetting about in terms of what the administration position was. They don't want to leave anybody out in the cold. They don't want to leave anybody out in the cold, and they don't want to yank the rug out from under anyone, which is why the president and the leadership in the House put together the AACA, which right now is still on the table along with some other stuff. But your point is we already have some programs out there. Why not adjust them to take care of the folk who don't have or legitimately can't afford health insurance? Not a bad idea, Gordon. Thanks. Linda, you've got a minute on Rapid Fire.
Yes, sir. The tax accountant and our software for all the taxes has been adjusted so that we can eliminate the penalties people are having to pay for the Unaffordable Care Act.
Really?
Yes, sir. You make an election, and once that election is made, it eliminates the tax.
What's the election?
It's just a check mark on the front page when you go in to put in someone's tax return.
Right.
And you elect that, oh, yes, I'm going to go by the executive order that the president issued.
And it's on the form that you fill out as an election?
It could be on the form. I use a software.
Oh, I see.
In our software.
Right.
And most accountants use software.
Linda, that is great news.
I've already saved several customers several $100s.
Why don't we hear about this in the regular news? They're too busy trying to hang somebody over Russia smusher stuff and all of this other stuff. This is great news for people who feel like they have been burdened by this act. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, Linda, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. That just adds some more credence to what I just read, and I did not know that. That is good to know. Good to know. Thank you, Linda. Man, did you all hear that, Shana B?
I did. I even wrote that down.
I'm telling you.
With a check mark.
So she is saying that the software she uses has been adjusted such that you can say, I want to go by the executive order that was issued because I can't afford the penalty and or I can't afford to buy health insurance. That is great news for people who feel like they have been put in a bad place. Thank you, Linda, for sharing that. Write that down, Shane DeB, and write Linda's name down for sharing that with us because I didn't know because I was suspicious that some bureaucrats weren't going to follow that executive order. But it sounds as if I think they can. I think they will. Good news. Paul, you've got a minute on Rapid Fire.
Hi, Mr. Thank you for answering my call.
Yes.
I had the same question because I did file the tax return last month, and I went to one of those forms. They kept telling me that it's automatically programmed. If you didn't have insurance, they're going to have to deduct the penalty of your tax return.
Right. Well, what Linda is saying is they don't have to penalize you because of the executive order. The executive order is really, really clear. Now, I don't know who you used, but I would go back and push back on that because it sounds as if some software packages, some accountants are going by the executive order and some are not. And I don't know, and it might just be because a lot of them have forgotten about it. So if I were you, I would go back and challenge them on that provision based upon the executive order that was issued and based upon what it clearly states in Section 2. That would be my recommendation to you. Carol, you've got a minute on rapid fire.
Hey, Herman, love your show.
Thank you.
I just think it's awesome.
Thank you,
so
dear.
informative. I just wanted to say, looking at the big picture, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that the replacement plan for Obamacare didn't get passed.
Okay.
We need to look at the bigger picture. We need the right plan at the right time. I think everything happens for a reason, and I've been waiting for Donald Trump to come along, and now I'm just waiting for Obamacare to self-implode, and I cannot wait to see how the Democrats are going to scramble, and it will be an opportunity for this Republican Party to get it together and create a plan that's going to work for America.
Very well said. And, on the one hand, I would agree with you. On the other hand, I have reservations, and here's why. The Democrats have demonstrated over and over and over that they're going to want President Trump to adopt some of their concepts relative to health care that they embedded in Obamacare. That's what concerns me. I am hopeful that the administration won't be, snookered into going along with some of their big government control ideas just to get something passed. I don't think that he will. I think that if the Democrats put something on the table, it should be in motivation for the Republicans to come together. Because if they come together, Carol, we can end up with something much better than we had, get the burden of Obamacare off of all of us, and then begin to move forward. So you make a good point. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think people had expectations that we were going to start to defang this thing much earlier than it looks like it's going to happen. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for learning something. You're listening to The Herman Cain Show.
He's been there. He's done that. And he wants to give you the insight and the advantage. Herman Cain, Solutions for a Better America.
This is the story of Mrs. Clark, who has lived on this very block most
keep it going with calls. They're good.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Will do. They are good.
Two maybe in this segment if I tell them to be short.
Mrs. Clark, and that's when everything changed.
Do you know the answer to James on line 5?
Of elder abuse.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought that executive order from January 20th would have been so clutch?
I'm telling you, man, this is gold. But you don't hear them talking about it in the media, do you?
I like how you're focusing on the positives of it.
Yeah.
I felt like yesterday it was kind of like, we lost, bad news,
Yeah.
the fight goes on, but no, I don't think anybody's really talking about what's actually been done to change the law.
Mm-hmm. I am going to follow up with a commentary on this, like you suggested.
Hey, man.
Because Section 2 is powerful.
Please, when you get done with it, email it to me. I'd love to read your
Okay.
take.
I'm definitely going to write one around this. This is very powerful.
Worried about financial problems or are afraid of
Doors open.
It's time to take control. You don't have to lose your home. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling can help. Seek advice from our certified housing counselors.
These are some good calls.
Call us at 866.
Yeah.
Squeeze in as many as I can.
Or visit
I like 5 and 6 better now. I know
Okay.
those two James.
All right.
real solutions for real people.
Good direction.
Shane's gonna have to put some best ofs together while you're off.
Yeah.
So if we start getting calls sooner in rapid fire, it's gonna give him more that he can edit from.
Okay.
Because like that was only 7.5 minutes of calls.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean they started lighting up. They were slow, but they came.
You trying to say I talk too much?
No. No, but rapid fire is really only like half the segment now.
I know.
So we're kind of losing it a little bit.
But see, the meat of what I did about this executive order, though, I thought was very important.
Yeah.
Good deal. But I hear what you're saying.
Officials from requiring us to join or pay dues to a union anyway. That's true, but union officials can still keep us from negotiating our own employment terms if the unions voted in. I just feel like
I like it. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody. They're just whining and bitching. That's definitely a commentary. And is Shane to be back?
Yep.
I'm going to use executive order stuff for a Better America.
He's got something today with EPA.
Yeah. That'll be happening now.
NUNES. No Z.
I'm in almost every school bus and class.
Hey, James.
I go to school with your
James.
children.
James.
We say the petrol.
Oh, well, so much for that, James. Hey, he's going to get to your call next, and we're still in rapid fire, so the quicker you are, with your minute, then he'll have time to respond, okay? Thanks. Hold on.
This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me you can grow up to do whatever
Hey, James.
you want.
Hey, he may get to you here in this segment, but remember, rapid fire, just be as quick as you can. When you say Trump has broken the gridlock, I want you to explain what you mean.
One
and
more
that's it,
rapid
okay?
fire segment.
Thanks. Hold on.
And find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals.
Nobody is talking about that.
Together, we are feeding America.
You all are just trailblazers.
Over 5 million people in the United States, many of them older, have a heart condition known as atrial fibrillation, or AFib. I'm Georgia State Senator Nan Orrock. Women in government urges you to learn the
Hey, Jared, when are the games? Saturday or Sunday? Do you know?
Saturday and Monday.
dizziness, fainting, or fatigue. Treatment for AFib.
And the first game is going to be Gonzaga in South Carolina, and then the late game is Oregon and North Carolina on Saturday night.
But the final game is going to be a week from Monday.
No, it's going to be on Monday.
Huh?
No, it's not Monday. It's always 2 days after.
Really? Okay.
Anytime.
Welcome back to the Herman Cain Show. 877-310-2100. Hey, Chris, you've got a minute on rapid fire.
Good morning, Mr. Cain.
Yes, sir.
Hey, when Obamacare first came out, I was listening to Rush, and they were talking about exemptions for hardships.
Right.
And basically, you go on, fill out that form. You have to do it once a quarter or whatever it was. I think it was back then it was once a year.
Right.
So I filled out that form. I got the exemption. And the next year, I forgot about the form. Come time to file taxes, at the end of the filing, I was doing 1040 easy, and I think I did the 1099 easy.
Right.
On both forms, when it says you have insurance, you check no. Then it asks you if you want to claim an exemption, check yes, and it gives you a line or it gives you options, and then you just click hardship, fill out your hardship, and I've just put I can't afford it. That's what I put on my form. I can't afford it. That's my reason.
And they accepted your tax return.
I have never been billed.
Wow. Great input. So there are multiple ways to basically say you've got hardship, but now you have the strength of the executive order to go along with that. That's great news, Chris. Thanks for sharing that. James, you've got a minute on rapid fire.
Hi, Herman. It's really an honor to talk with you.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to mention that something positive here. I think Trump knew what he was doing when he went forward with the American Health Care Act. I think he set an ultimatum, said, give me what you've got, because he wanted to break the gridlock.
Right.
I don't think he expected it to pass, but when it didn't, it allowed a lot of different factions to be exposed. I think he's now taken a step back and he can look and see how to move forward. So I think he's really broken the gridlock here with this move.
You know, you make a very, very powerful point, because now they see that the president is willing to walk away, and that's what he did. He walked away from the Republicans being all over the place. Here's the other thing that he did that's positive, James. Representative Elijah Cummings and some other Democrats went and sat down with the president to talk about some of the ideas that they have for bringing down prescription drug prices, because in their communities, some of their citizens are particularly hit hard. So you make a very good point. This could be the beginning of breaking and busting up some of this gridlock. And that is a positive thing. Very good observation. You're listening to the Herman Cain Show. Don't forget, folks, if you go to HermanCain.com, you just might learn something. I know I did. I'm Herman Cain.